All right, so that's how we're gonna connect to the lung. And then we gotta plug it in. And again, there is no power source except for our 50 PSI connection. All right, so we are gonna set three different things. In order to set our three different things, we start with the numbers that are laid out in front of us here, okay? So our first setting is going to be our pressure setting. Remember, it essentially is going to be between 10 and 20. Our initial setting is going to be 5 to let the patient get nice and comfortable. Okay, so when you do your checkoff, start it off on 5 and explain to the patient. So I'm just starting you off on a lower pressure, and after you've taken a couple breaths, then I'm going to increase the pressure to get the volumes that we want. Okay, so we'll start off with a lower pressure. And then we will set in our air mix. If it's pushed in, the air mix is off and they're getting an FiO2 of 1.0. If the air mix is on, then the patient is getting that range between 0.4 and 0.6, or about 50%. You wouldn't be necessarily wrong saying that at all. So I'm gonna push it in and just have 1.0 FiO2. The third thing that we're gonna set is our expiratory time. We are going to set that if it's acting as a ventilator. Okay, so right now for the checkoff, I'm going to have you act as if it's a ventilator. Okay, I'm not going to be breathing on it, and since I'm not breathing, that means we have a dead lung. And if we have a dead lung, then you need to breathe for it. Okay, so we're going to have to set that expiratory apnea timer. Okay, so again, it's just kind of playing with our flow and our expiratory time in order to achieve that desirable IE ratio, okay? And every time that we change our pressure, it's going to adjust our IE ratio because it takes longer to reach a pressure, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and set my expiratory time. There we go. That's actually a pretty good IE ratio right now. All right, the fourth thing that we're gonna set is that sensitivity. And if I set it to -7, is that more or less sensitive than if I set it to -4? Less sensitive. It's a more negative number, so it's a smaller number, so it's less sensitive. Very good. Okay, and then finally the fifth thing I set is my flow. Okay, so once you have all your settings in, and I go, oh, your compliance changed. Right now I just changed the compliance by putting pressure on here. Okay, this is like if a patient's lung is restricted. Sweet, sweet, sweet. All right. A patient's lung is now restricted. Now it's not. Now it's restricted. Okay? Can you see that I'm putting restriction on it by putting pressure on it? Okay, so that restriction changes my IE ratio. It's going to change my volume. It's going to change quite a bit. Okay? So if that compliance improves, now my IE ratio is a little bit longer, or my inspiratory time is a little bit longer, and I'm going to get bigger volumes. Does that all make sense? Okay. All right. So right here again, on this expiratory limb, that's where you're going to put your right respirometer to get your values. I will give you the patient's sex and height, and so you guys are going to be responsible for getting the normal tidal volume range, and then calculating for the desirable IPPB tidal volume range. And again, that's 25% greater than the normal tidal volume range for the ideal patient, okay? So remember, how many breaths are we shooting for? 6 to 8, okay, and that's all because of the alveolar minute ventilation that we're achieving because those bigger breaths. it is difficult to manipulate this to get 6 to 8 reps off of it. Like I said before, they're older machines, and it's actually a good thing because it really makes you manipulate that E time and flow in order to, like, you know, kind of get closer and closer to that 6 to 8 range, although it's very difficult. Okay, so if you're at a rate of 20, I'm probably, or like 15 to 20, I'm probably going to be okay with that. If you're at a rate of 30 to 40, and you're like, that's okay. No, you're going to need to make adjustments in order to reduce that respiratory rate. Does that make sense? Okay, and do you guys want me to go through on how to do that again? Okay.